Hey guys, it's that time of the month and I'm here to give you my top 5 albums for the month of July. Now, I'm sure you have your own favorite picks. I'm sure you perhaps don't agree with all of mine, but that's why there is a comment section. So you can share your picks, you can share your thoughts on my picks, how some of mine may fit into yours. All of that, use the comment section. Let me know where you're at. Let me discover some records because obviously I didn't listen to everything that came out in July, and this top 5 is based on my own reviews. So if I didn't review the album, it's definitely not going to make the cut, and I'm going to go through chronological order of release just to make things simple for me. Starting off with Blackbraid, Blackbraid 2 out July 7th as a self-release. This is the band's second studio album. They are a black metal band, and this record is off the charts. I think it's going to be one of the best, if not the best, black metal album of the year. It's very raw, it's very organic, and I don't mean it from a production standpoint, I mean it from an emotional standpoint, where these songs are coming from musically and where the lyrical content is coming from. It connects, it feels, it has all the right attributes. And then this album has good production behind it. You don't have to have a raw sounding album that was recorded in a cave somewhere to be black metal. Black metal can be a lot more than that. To be black metal is attitude. Black metal is the lyrical content, is the energy, is the vibe, is everything that surrounds the band, not just poor production. I feel some people have been a little bit negative towards this record because they feel like it's overproduced. I don't think it's overproduced. I think it just has great sound quality to it, and it's a great sounding album. But that doesn't mean that it takes anything away from how black metal this album is, because it truly is, and it's a great record. I honestly really enjoy this band, and this album was an absolute home run for me. I obviously, like I said on my review, I'd have liked to hear that sound of that fire start at the beginning and then end right at the finish note of the album to give you a sense of full circle. Not only that, but would give you a sense that you've been told stories around the fire, around the campfire. I thought that would have been the icing on the cake. Outside of that, it's a perfect sounding record. It's a perfect record. I love Blackbraid, and this album, like I said, was a home run for me. Next, we have All for Metal Legends on July 7th on AFM Records.
We set the sails for adventures, 7 continents, 7 seas, a horde of freedom defenders to create our destiny. Oh, don't you dare to resist, you better run. Oh, everywhere keep away, 'cause here we come. Strike. 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 Keep away, 'cause here we come. Hear the drum. Now the time has come.
This is the band's debut album. They are a power metal band, and I was expecting this record to be good, but I was not expecting this record to be this good. Debut album, a band that it's pretty much feels like a super group. I thought this was going to be a compilation style record, like it's going to have great songs but not really connecting with one another, fun tracks to listen to but not necessarily memorable. Man, I was wrong on almost all counts. It does come across feeling like a compilation, but when the songs are this good, when you have this much fun listening to every single track, and they're not completely disconnected from one another. There's a lot of similarities in terms at least of the vibe of these songs and how they took the overall vocal approach of having two vocalists, two very different vocalists, using them together as a duo in certain songs and then giving them room to breathe on their own in other tracks. All of this really made this album sound phenomenal. So I almost forgot the fact that it doesn't really feel like a record in terms of having a beginning, middle, and end. I put that aside. The quality of the album surpasses that little detail because this was a super fun record to listen to. I feel like power metal is losing a little bit of its power, and this album infused a lot of power into their sound. What a fun journey, what a fun album to listen to. Next we have Evile with The Unknown on July 14th on Napalm Records.
Once more a longer day, I recall the void remains, a void that forever stays. They say that
This is the band's 6th studio album. They are a thrash metal band, and this was a huge step up from their previous record. Their previous album, I feel like it was a little bit, how can I say this? It was an album that required a lot of work. They tried to fit pieces into certain places in order for that album to even come to life. This one comes across in a more organic way. It feels more natural. It doesn't feel forced. The songs, obviously, when you have a record that has that sort of sensation of coming together on its own, the songs are going to reflect that, and this album has a lot more quality, a lot more strength, both musically and vocally, across the entire duration of itself. It's a more complete, it's a more mature album, and it allows you to feel like the band was firing on all cylinders. They knew exactly what they wanted from the record, from themselves, and they knew exactly what didn't go right on the previous album. So that album, perhaps the failures of that record, helped make this album as strong as it is. It obviously has a huge Metallica flavor to it, but who cares? It sounds phenomenal, has great riffs, great solos, great vocals. It's a really complete album. It's a fun album to listen to, and it's definitely one of the records from Evile that you were hoping to get from them at this point in time. They needed an album that would cement their place currently, but also help cement the next steps they're going to take towards their future. And I feel like The Unknown is definitely an album that does that across all the parameters. Musically, vocally, lyrically, and even from an album cover artwork standpoint. Next we have Voyager with Fearless in Love on July 14th on Season of Mist.
have you ever shut all the open doors? Have you ever just walked out on your own? Have you ever just lost your mind when you try to unwind? Or are you coming right back for more? I'm here tonight. Promise me you'll hold me till I die. I'm by your side. Promise me it's gonna be alright. Promise me it's gonna be alright.
This is the band's 8th studio record. They are a prog metal band, and perhaps you know them from the Eurovision contest. But these guys have been around for a very long time. Eurovision was a chance for them to break in some new ground, gain some new fans, gain some notoriety, get some more eyeballs and ears paying attention to what they're doing. But this is a band that definitely knows what they want. They're a band that has a very specific style, a very specific approach to prog. And that's the beauty of prog. I mean, there's no definition to what prog needs to be. So they take that genre and they give it their own twist, they give it their own spin. And this album is definitely showcasing their uniquenesses and how different they are within a genre that has a lot of differences. This is a great sounding record. It sounds really good. It has a lot of keyboards, a lot of synthesizers, perhaps more than I was expecting coming in. But the guitars still play a role in this album. They're not completely stripped away from the record, but it's definitely a record that feels more electronic at times, or at least that depends more on the electronic side to really drive these songs, to really create an impact on a track-by-track basis. On top of that, you have a great vocal performance from start to end that feels captivating. that honestly has a lot of warmth, that brings you in, makes you feel welcome within this record. This is an album that also hides how complex it is and how many layers and how textured the album overall comes across. It feels simplified. It's an album that almost feels dumbed down so people can grasp it, so people can understand it. But if you're willing to look under the hood, you see that this album is nothing but complex. There's nothing about this record that screams simplicity. I mean, it does scream simplicity at first glance, but it's not a simple record by no means. I love how complex and easy to digest it is at the exact same time. Last but definitely not least, Aetherian at Storm's Edge of July 14th on Life Force Records. This is the band's second studio album. They are a melodic death metal band, and this record definitely is a step up from their debut album. Once again, releasing a record, they're not the only ones on this list, but releasing a record that feels a little bit more mature, better crafted, understanding the design of the record a little bit better, understanding how that design can have an impact to the overall playability, the experience that the album gives, and really creating an album from an album standpoint. This is not a record of a collection of songs that they've been working on, throwing them together, and there you go. This album has a lot more work into it than just that. It obviously has great individual tracks, but it's obvious to me that they also paid attention to what they wanted the full experience to be. And because of that, it allows the album to be a little bit richer. It allows the album to be a little bit more impactful from an overall standpoint. There is room for growth for this band. I don't think this band is still firing on all cylinders. I still feel like they can get better. Sound-wise, they can get even better. This album is a little bit raw at times, and I know that's the goal that they were going with, but I think for their style and for their potential that they have, they could be a little bit more polished, they could be a little bit more defined, or at least allow the boundaries of each and every song to have a little bit more definition and not be as crude. I think that would have a positive impact on them as a band, and it would reach a much larger audience as well. But besides all of that, this is still a great record to listen to, and definitely the band is moving in the right direction with their second release. This is it, my favorite 5 albums for the month of July. Once again, hit me up in the comment section, let me know what you're listening to, who made your top 5, and are some of mine on yours. So hit me up, I'm looking forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you all at the next video.